Rightio, as promised, my thoughts have been gathered a little bit, I think. And I've kind of got an idea of where I want to go with this because obviously this started off this Spurs versus OKC series as one of the most anticipated series in probably my lifetime, to be completely honest. Like, ever since my time as an NBA fan, there's always been a clear favourite of a series. And I think this is the first time that OKC lose, but it doesn't feel like an upset or it doesn't feel like the right team won. Like, that's sort of the level of playing field that I'm at the moment, where either of these teams were more than deserving of going through to the NBA Finals. And I think we saw that today more than anything, is that, like, both of these teams, regardless of youth, regardless of how much experience they had, regardless of the two freaks of nature that they had on either side of the floor, both of these teams were more than capable of going all the way. And it's just so amazing to me that Victor Wembanyama, in his third season in the league, is already going to the NBA Finals. He's already cementing himself as, by the time his career's done, he'll be the best defensive player the league has ever seen. And I don't think that really goes without, like, that goes without argument. There is no basis of that. He will retire as, I mean, one of the best players ever. Like, and he's in his third season and has molded this team. Mind you, I've got so many people to get to on this Spurs roster, but I'm going to start with Victor because I think Victor is the biggest talking point. And you've seen how much of this, like, winning this series meant to Victor Wembanyama. The dude was, he's only just gotten through to the conference finals, and I've seen that dude cry like he just won the NBA Finals. That is genuinely how much emotion came out of him at the end of this game. And it was such an emotionally draining series for him. There was so many ups and downs, whether he was scoring the ball at a high clip. There was game 5 where he couldn't score the ball if his life depended on it. There was games where he got rebounds, but he struggled from the field. There was games where he's 7'4" and got 4 rebounds in an entire contest. Like, this series had so many factors towards it. And for Victor, he's going to cement his legacy, regardless of whether they go on to win the finals or they go and, burn out and the Knicks actually get the job done. We don't know just yet, but it has showcased so much of where this Spurs team is at, and this Spurs team has basically accelerated their timeline so much more than I think people would have imagined. Because the likes of Dylan Harper, this dude's in his rookie season, and he has drawn so many comparisons to the likes of Magic Johnson because he is that good of a basketball player. And we saw that today in moments with how composed he was, getting on the offensive rebounds. The offensive rebounds, by the way, killed the Thunder in this game. I think it was the first quarter of this game, the OKC Thunder had about 6 offensive rebounds to 0. And I think by the end of this game, the Spurs ended with comfortably more offensive rebounds. And every time there seemed to be an offensive rebound in this game, there was second chance points that were going down for either side. Devin Vassell. I mean, Devin Vassell, there's a group of guys that I sort of want to touch on because they're all sort of in the same boat as each other. Devin Vassell, Julian Champagnie, and Carter Bryant. I mean, Carter Bryant played in sort of touch minutes and he didn't get too much action in this one. But they were the main pieces that were coming either from the starters or off the bench for them in this one. Devin Vassell is such a consistent shooter. His form is one of the best shots I've seen in the entire league at the moment. Like, the thing is so pure. Julian Champagnie, I mean, I didn't know who this dude was at the start of the season, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I don't know how long Julian Champagnie's been in and around the league, but I did not know who he was at the start of this season. And this dude has become a consistent knockdown shooter for this Spurs roster. And without him, they don't win this ball game today. saying something like that against, and it just shows with how much the NBA means for the entire team. Like, you cannot be a one-person team and win a Western Conference Finals. That is just the end of it. That's like, it's insane. De'Aaron Fox had a criminal series, all things considered. He said at halftime he had a terrible series. You've just got to keep shooting the basketball. And he did that. He continued to shoot the basketball, and he scored so many clutch buckets for this team down the stretch in this game that he is another sole reason that they are going to the NBA Finals. That's why they brought De'Aaron Fox in, for the experience, for the go-ahead buckets that he is going to bring. Obviously, he wasn't 100% for the entirety of this series, and that showed because everybody knows De'Aaron Fox is like the fastest player in all of basketball. And for the majority of this series, I think I only saw 2 instances today where he actually bursted off the dribble and tried to get his head down low into the paint. He's finally going to come around, and in this finals, he is going to further develop his health and going to be another big factor in this next series. Stephon Castle is about the last guy that I got to touch on. I mean, for the majority of this one, he was actually in foul trouble today. There wasn't really much that they could get out of Stephon Castle on the defensive side of the ball, but it did not stop the dude from putting his head down like he always does on the offensive side of the ball and attacking the offensive glass, getting his dunks and his layups, and he was another big determining factor. Obviously, he didn't have the assignment for the majority of this one of guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because of this foul trouble, but it's not like he was a player where as soon as he's in foul trouble and not able to give you something on one side of the ball, that he's a complete negative on the other, because he is as gifted offensively as he is defensively. And like, I think that's about it for the Spurs. I mean, there's so many things to go through with this team. Luke Cornett had the biggest play of the entire game with a chase down block on Isaiah Hartenstein with 4 minutes left. Luke Cornett, the dude that was on the Boston roster for 2 years, and about the only thing that we knew about Luke Cornett was if he was not out at a jump shooter and their jump shooter was wide open, he would just jump with his hands up and try and make a contest, even though he's like 10 foot away from this play. My bad, Luke. Like, he had a great game today. I mean, he very spurt minutes, and when you're backing up Victor Wembanyama, you have such big shoes to fill, and there is so much for you to do to even be 1/10 of what Victor Wembanyama is. But today, Luke Cornett, I would say, had his best game of the series. And it was just a couple of little moments that he gave them. Obviously, like, when Victor Wembanyama goes to the bench, OKC is going to crash the ring. It's the one bit of the entire game where they get to freely go to the bucket without Isaiah Hartenstein having to do a 25-foot floater straight up in the air. Like, he did the best that he could considering the circumstances, and I tip my hat to Luke Cornett in this one. Yeah, man, like, the Spurs are going to the NBA Finals. Only 3 years, like, they were 12th in the league last season. That's how they got Dylan Harper. That's how they, like, this is genuinely their first bite at the playoffs as this core. And they have made it all the way to the NBA Finals. And if you haven't been, like, reaching out to them and contacting and being involved in the league recently, obviously we've seen the new change with the NBA draft lottery has just come into effect, and it's actually passed through, and it will be taking effect. And it basically means this Spurs team is going to be the last team to be able to construct where they get 3 top first-round picks in a row, build a young core, and then start to build off that core. Because they are, with the new thing that's passing through, you cannot pick in the top 5 3 seasons in a row in the NBA draft. And, like, who knows what's going to happen with that. It's probably going to make bad teams worse, and it's probably going to make teams that are trying to compete slightly better. But yeah, man, like, this is the last edition. Like, these Spurs are the last edition of a team that is built purely through the draft. It's just crazy, man. Incredible. Anyway, I've done enough talking about San Antonio, and it's time to get on to the losers. Obviously, if you guys have been keeping up with the channel throughout the playoff stretch, I've basically been coming on, and whatever team has lost the series, I've basically come on and spoke about the things that they could do for next season. But if you're asking me what the OKC Thunder can do for next season, take the strides in the summer, hit training camp hard. Some players go and do workouts with Chris Brickley or something, like, I don't know. Take a bit of time off and they will be back next year. It is as simple as that. Like, a lot of these guys are under contract. I think everybody but Isaiah Hartenstein is under contract. I think with the amount of money that Isaiah Hartenstein will probably demand, he probably won't be back on the team next season. Which means they need to pivot at the center spot, and because Isaiah Hartenstein had played some really good minutes for them in this series, he was more playable than Chet Holmgren today. And Chet Holmgren, as an All-NBA third-team player, put up a whopping 2 shots from the field in a Game 7. One of them was a layup. It was a fadeaway jumper from about 10 feet in the first quarter. And the second one actually slipped my mind now what the second shot was. But when you don't have AJ Mitchell and you don't have Jalen Williams, I'll get to Jalen Williams that actually played in a second, but this is Jalen Williams who was on the bench from Santa Clara, hamstring injuries, whatnot. You need Chet Holmgren to shoot more than 2 shots. And I think Jamal Crawford said on the broadcast, he would rather Chet Holmgren be 1 for 15 from the field, as opposed for 1 from 2 from the field. Because at least that means then Chet Holmgren has gone out in this game, he's been aggressive, and he's tried to score the basketball. The dude was nothing more than just rim protection today. And from an All-NBA third-team guy, like, it just... You really can't have that on your home floor in a Game 7. You're on your home floor, you should have the blood pumping, you should be ready to go, answering to go in front of this crowd. And it just was not the case today. He was basically unplayable in the fourth quarter. Like, he sat in crucial parts of this fourth quarter just because he did not look like he wanted to take a jump shot. And that is majority of what Chet Holmgren is, and that is majority of how good Chet Holmgren has been throughout this last couple of years of his career, is because he's a big that is able to protect the ring, but also be able to put the ball on the floor and get buckets when Shai has this entire series, just been hounded time after time after time after time again. You don't have your 2 second and third leading scorers. You need Chet Holmgren to stand up and actually score the basketball. It just wasn't the case today. Cason Wallace, if I was drafting a team and I was going 1 through 15 and I was picking my best NBA team that I wanted, I'm picking Cason Wallace as one of my picks. Because this dude was their only other source of offense today outside of Shai, and maybe you could throw Jared McCain in there, but Jared McCain, he did a lot of his work early in the first quarter. And then after that, he went really, really quiet. He started to shoot his 3-ball flat. He couldn't really get the elevation that he needed. Missed a couple of big shots down the stretch. Cason Wallace did not look like he missed a 3 all day. He was an absolute menace in the passing lanes, guarding guys on ball, away from the ball. Like, this dude is just the perfect role player. And for me personally, if you are going to make a trade as the OKC Thunder, I think you get rid of Lou Dort and just give Cason Wallace the keys to that shooting guard position. Because obviously Cason Wallace started a lot of games this season for the Thunder, but that was due to injuries and people being out and this, that, and the other. Man, some of these shots that I watched Lou Dort shoot today just... Oh, it was terrible. Like, I've got no other words to describe it. It was awful. Why you, as a streaky three-pointer shooter at best, are shooting a 30-footer in the first 2 minutes of action, getting the offensive rebound, getting the ball back and saying, you know what, I'm going to shoot this exact same shot again. It just... I know how good Lou Dort is on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not taking that away from him one bit. But his jump shot, he's one of those dudes where I sat in this chair watching this series and just, he never looked like he was going to make a shot. Obviously, he made a big shot in the second quarter of this game today, but that was really the only bucket he had. And I think Cason Wallace was just so much more impactful than he was today, and I think he deserves to get that starting role as of next season onwards. Jared McCain, as I said, I mean, like, for a dude that you traded for barely nothing to come into this team and immediately have an impact on a playoff contender like Jared McCain did, I can do nothing but give him all the props in the world because he had an amazing performance today. Like, that first quarter, OKC started sluggish like they have for a lot of this series. And Jared McCain came off the bench and gave them immediate scoring. And it was the perfect thing for them at that point in time. Because second quarter onward, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got going. And we'll get to Shai in a moment. But Jared McCain basically kept the bridge up between Shai getting into his groove and the rest of the team basically struggling. Like, Jalen Williams was a great player today. I'm going to give Jalen Williams a lot of credit. He was a dude that basically, if this team's fully healthy, Jalen Williams probably all but falls out of the rotation, but he played such great minutes for them all series long, guarding Victor Wembanyama, hitting the three ball, crashing the glass hard. Like, he did so many good things, and I respect him so much higher now than I did at the start of the series as a basketball player, and he will come back onto this roster next season. There was just the offense didn't click completely. And the last person that I need to talk about is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because it is going to be a little bit of a rant from me, but all I have seen on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and goddamn Pinterest and LinkedIn, like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a flopper. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander isn't actually that good at basketball. All he can do is shoot free throws. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is this and that and this and that. I'm sick and tired of it, man. Like, I am going to try and spread a positive basketball space, and that's what this channel's all about. And for me to wake up and Bleacher Report is slamming Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for being on the floor, and House of Highlights and all of these big sources going in and absolutely digging at Shai, it's just not fair. And I think it's disgusting media, and it just, like, obviously you can acknowledge it. And in some parts of the game, you just have no choice but to acknowledge it. But there is just so many people dragging his name through the mud and basically saying he's an irrelevant ball player just because he does hit the floor every now and again. It happens. He does it more than a lot. But, like, he's not the only person in the entire league that does this. And I think that's what people take their mind away from. And people just want to take greatness away from players just because of a niche in their game. Steph Curry. Oh, Steph Curry's not a bad defender. Steph Curry's a bad defender, has bad ankles. James Harden. Oh, the whole offense has to be based around James Harden for him to be good. Like, every single player, people are fine. But for me, Shai just has, as of recent times, copped it to a whole new level. And I think it just needs to stop and watch basketball and watch Shai. If you watch Shai play basketball today, he just... Some of their mid-ranges, three-point jump shots falling to his left. He played an immaculate offensive game today. Obviously, he has struggled for the majority of this series, but he played an incredible game of basketball today on the offensive side of the ball. And that is exactly what they needed from Shea in this Game 7. A lot of his teammates didn't come along for the ride. And yeah, the Thunder's season's over. And for a lot of people, it's over 4, 5, 6, 7 games earlier than a lot of people expected. Because I had the Thunder going all the way. Majority of people probably had the Thunder going all the way because this team is that deep and that strong. And I didn't really get to Alex Caruso today because Alex Caruso did struggle from the field today. Had that wrist injury in the fourth quarter, which you could tell bothered him in so many different aspects. He was trying to take lefty layups in the fourth quarter of a crunch time game. And it just kind of, destroyed and imploded the team a little bit. But you got to shout out AC for being tough as nuts and staying out on the floor. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a report tomorrow saying AC has a minor fracture in his wrist. That's just the kind of player that Alex Caruso is. Yeah, I might take a deep dive into the Thunder and some of the next strides for them a bit later on, but now we just turn to the finals. And I will get a video out before Game 1 of the finals predicting this series and analysing this series, but just for today, it is Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. And the Western Conference is over. Victor Wembanyama is the finals MVP. And we have a maximum of 7 games of basketball left in this season, which we will have to get into what we're doing over the off-season when we get to it, but I've got a couple of things in mind that I'm going to try and plan out over time. But yeah, that's basically everything. I think that's basically dumped my brain for everything to do with this game. If I've missed anything, please let me know. I'll have a conversation with you down below about it. If you've made it this far, liking and subscribing, even considering that would be absolutely awesome. This is just a rant space for me to talk about basketball. And if I can get any of you guys to come along for the ride, that is awesome. That's everything. Playoff predictions coming next. Couple of shorts will come out over the next couple of days. Obviously, there'll be a lot of talking points in this series and some that I might have missed, which I will go into detail with. But the Knicks and the Spurs. It's going to be an interesting one, man. It really is. Knicks are a chance. I'm not saying the Knicks aren't a chance. A lot of people are saying whoever comes out the West are going to win. I'm not writing the Knicks off. I'm going to be completely honest. But yeah, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the space somewhere. Thank you.